to be here with the RefMasters community. If we haven't met yet, I'm Sony Tawari, co-founder and CEO of RefMasters. For our live audience today, as always, we want this to be an interactive and engaging session. So to get us started, if you haven't already, let us know where you're joining us from, and also let us know the last thing you had to eat. I saw some really delicious comments already in the box, and I'm thinking about dinner already. As we continue to have the conversation today with our special guest, we hope that you will share your questions and comments in the chat box, and some of those will certainly make their way into the conversation. Today, we are joined by our fellow co-founders, James Gucci Williams and Kane Fitzgerald, both of MBA. I would say royalty, but that sounds like a little heavy-handed. Not really royalty, just good old MBA common folk. But we are also, here in the studio, we have a very special guest. He played professionally for 11 years, including a key role on the mid-90s Indiana Pacers juggernaut. He since then has been a basketball official for 20 years, 15 of those as an NBA official. Haywoode Workman, we're really thankful that you're able to join us tonight. As the season is rolling in just a few weeks from now, what's something in the end of the summer that you usually try to do before the season starts?
Definitely would get on my bicycle. Right before the season, I would try to at least get 4 days of riding a bike, about 17 miles. So that was kind of my workout, just to make sure that I was fit, or try to go into camp fit.
Well, Kane doesn't work anymore, so he's a suit now, so he doesn't have to worry about his fitness.
I still gotta stay in shape. I gotta make believe I might be able to come back. You never know.
Yeah, so that means he doesn't do anything, Sony. But yeah, definitely like Haywoode said, cardio, like it's big. So today I ran 5 miles. Like I really ramp up the cardio this time of year because that's a big part of what we do. Obviously, running up and down the floor. So nobody likes doing it, but I mean, you got to do what you have to do to be prepared and like Haywoode said, come to camp, in shape and ready to go.
Yeah. I wouldn't run all summer. I'd do something. Pickleball, basketball, just something to keep your feet moving. If I was doing any other cardio outside of sports, it would be riding a bike, elliptical, that kind of stuff. And then 2 to 3 weeks before camp, build up your running, just to get your ligaments and your muscles used to it again. So
those guys didn't have injuries, so I stayed away from running until I hit the court. So most of mine was on the bike, and do a lot of stretching.
You all are very studious gentlemen, I see. If it was me, I would have a hard time not doing something like Dion in our chat. He said earlier today he went to Chick-fil-A and he had the 12-count nugget, which is definitely my go-to at Chick-fil-A. Haywoode, do you do any fast food? Is that part of your life or not at all?
I try to stay away from it as much as I can, but it is a part of my life. Chick-fil-A is in my wheelhouse, so. But I try to stay away from it as much as I can.
Whenever we have meetings around lunchtime, I always see James with Sweet Green. James, do you dive down in there with fast food like some of us?
Yeah, I don't mind it, but everything in moderation, right? So, In-N-Out's a good place for a burger. We only got a couple of Chick-fil-A's in Chicago. We don't have many. But that 12-piece nugget, if you get it grilled, it's not the same, but it's healthier. So
you gotta go to Potbelly's, James. You gotta go to Potbelly's.
Potbelly's. I'm not a big fan of Potbelly's, to be honest with you. No,
so good.
Yeah, I love Potbelly's.
All right, while we're on Potbelly's, what's your favorite sandwich shop? You got to pick one. What is it?
The turkey BLT
Firehouse
with the avocado.
Okay, but at Potbelly's.
Yes,
I gotta go with my roots. Jersey Mike's is probably the best sub sandwich shop out there right now, in my opinion.
That's a typical Jersey guy. Yeah,
Jersey Mike's has been killing it. Daryl says preach.
He's a homer, just like he refereed. Homer.
Oh, that's so messed up.
Damn, shots fired. Hey, Kane, I appreciate Jersey Mike's, and they've been winning the last few years for sure. I mean, growing up, I love Subway, but if you are anywhere in the southern United States, if you've gone to Publix and you've gotten a sub from the grocery store deli, the public sub, that's my jam, man. I get
That's
the
a
roast
great.
beef, I get the
Yeah,
meatball, I get the chicken sandwich. Those three are very stellar. So if you haven't gone to Publix, if you're down in the South, get your
great
ass into
call.
Publix.
Yeah.
That's a
Publix.
great call.
Good
Yeah,
call.
public subs is phenomenal. They're really
Yeah.
good.
Now, here's the challenge. I would love to just talk about Public subs and Potbelly for the next hour with you, Haywood. But while we have you here, I figured we should talk a little bit about basketball and officiating. When you were a player and you were thinking about what comes next, before officiating ever entered your mind, younger Haywood, what did he think his career would look like post playing days?
Whew. Doing what I'm doing now, a lot of nothing. Um, I think that's what I would have done, just to be around the guys and play a lot of golf. Uh, so that's what I do now. So,
Must be nice.
well, it's the two pensions, Hey,
You trust me, my friend. Your body, the way you beat your body up playing ball as a professional, and then again as a professional referee, you've earned the rest, no doubt.
thank you.
Yeah.
40 years of being on a field or on a court in 2021, like, all right, it's time to quit.
So then, when did refereeing ever enter your mind as a serious possibility for you?
2001, 2002, I didn't get picked up. I didn't play anywhere. I just come from Israel. I moved to Tampa and I didn't get picked up. And I was working out with a couple of guys, Ty Lue, Chauncey Billups, Jared Jeffries, Al Harrington. All those guys were down at IMG. A lot of guys would show up and just go play, work out during the week, and then take off on the weekends. So being that it was only an hour drive, I would go down and try to play. Bob Delaney was there trying to ref the scrimmages. So he was like, "Hey, Wood, man, I think you might have lost a couple steps. You think about being a ref?" I don't know about that. And then, sitting at home, like, "Hey, man, I need to go join." I made some phone calls and got in touch with Lee, I think it's Lee Jones at the time. And he told me to go. Have you ever reffed? I said, no. He said, well, go do some pro-am. So I had to make a decision where to go, New York or LA. So chose LA and ref the Drew, the LA Summer League, and Venice Beach for a month and a half for $20 a game. That was it. And then that fall, I got picked up in the CBA. That's about 2003, 2002,
It's like
2000.
that's a crash course right there, man. Just
Yeah.
dropped right into the Drew with
Yep.
no experience
The
other
old
than
Drew.
playing.
The old Drew. The original
I
Drew.
know.
The original
I
Drew.
know. Oh man,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. I mean, I eased into it, kids games, high school games, men's league before I started doing any of the New York pro-am stuff. So just to go cold right into the Drew, that must have been. Tell me about that. That's amazing.
The Drew, it's challenging. I would say it's very challenging because it's a middle school court and the wooden backboards with the shot clock behind the backboard. So if you're on the wrong side of the floor, you can't see the shot clock. The score at the scores table was the game clock. So it's just sitting right there. And the grill was right in this doorway. So they were grilling outside right in the doorway. Here comes the smoke inside the gym. So that you gotta compete with all that, and then a fight break out outside and it come into the gym. So, you got all this stuff going. But
Yeah.
I think the Drew was easier because Venice Beach, you didn't know what you were going to get out at Venice Beach. So,
What kind of league was it? Another pro-am league out in Venice Beach?
they had another league going on at Venice Beach and outside.
Nice.
You got all those dynamics with people on
Yeah.
rollerblades and people playing volleyball. You got flashers.
There's it's Orchard Beach in the Bronx. that's pretty similar. I would assume it's right on the beach up there. I worked some games up there. It's good ball, pro leagues. Everybody would make a little appearance through there. You had Rucker Park and all. I never got to work out west because I had all this stuff so close to me, and it's one regret I have is not going out west to work like the Drew and just seeing the league, even just to go see it. Like, never mind referee it. I would love to just sit and watch a game or two. So that's awesome that you got to spend the whole summer out there refereeing it. I'm a little jealous.
I had this guy, Jim Bertolero, walk behind me and go, blow your whistle and put your fist up. As I'm walking and running up and down the court, he was right behind me. Put your fist up. Blow the whistle. All right, report it. And that's how I learned. So, crash. When you say crash course, it was.
So, Haywoode, when you were at that phase of your career, and you said you went from people rollerblading around and stuff to all of a sudden you're in the CBA. When you joined the NBA, you were the third ex-NBA player to be an NBA official. So not a lot of pro players doing what you were doing. I wonder if that made it harder, if it made it easier, if it made it both. Did you feel there were preconceptions people had about you because you were a former pro player getting into this craft? Do you feel like that was helpful? Do you feel like it created additional obstacles for you? How was that from your perspective?
I'd say it was both. Because first, people had to find out who I was, because they wouldn't imagine that an NBA player is out here being a referee. So no one really knew me until, the game got going and we had to have dialogue. It was a catch-22 for me. I used it when I could and, to my advantage. I tried to, but at the same time, it was hard because, the guys are, come on, man, you're a player, I tried to use my know-how and who I was to my advantage as well.
That makes a lot of sense. And like you said, it's kind of a double-edged sword. What would you say now that you've been an official for 20 years and the NBA for 15, what would you say your most memorable moment has been as an official? And how does it compare to your most memorable moment as a player?
Most memorable is I ref Kobe's last game.
Damn.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's tough to beat.
That beat,
forgot all about that.
Yeah, that beat LeBron's first summer league game in Boston. I ref that game, and myself, Eric Lewis became a crew chief in the D League at the time, and Matt Boland got hired that year. So LeBron's first summer league game, Kobe's last game. So those really stood out. And could you repeat the second part of that?
I will, although I kind of want to stick around and talk about Kobe's last game. But yeah, the second part of that question was, how does that compare to your most memorable moment as a player?
Just to be there. No one expected me to be or make it to the NBA, or no one knew me to be that. And to be in the conference finals and be the starting point guard, just to be there, that's one you dream about. When you're 5, 6, 10, 12, that's what you dream about. So to be in those moments, that's kind of like a dream that was coming true for me.
I was living in Orlando as a young kid in 1994. I was a huge Magic fan, and you all definitely ripped our heart out. We had a real nice upcoming team, and I remember that first round series that you played us and swept us 3-0, and it was just like it's playing against the big boys. Out physicaled us, out executed us, and it was a really, really fun team to watch, those Pacer teams for a few years there. So definitely can imagine that being something you'd be incredibly proud of. We can talk more there, but I do want to go back and just talk on Kobe's last game. What's the conversation like with the crew before that game? Are there any details, any things that you're focused on for a game like that?
Nobody came to see us. That was the dialogue. Nobody came to see us. So let's just make sure that, you call what you see, and let's not make anything up.
And as the game went on, it started to take on another life. In the third quarter, in the early stages of the fourth quarter, this is more of a fan question. I'm not an official, so pardon the kind of lame question here, but when I go back and I watch that, I still get chills just from the electricity of what that was the first time watching it as it happened. In a moment like that, and it's a regular season game, so it's maybe not the same expectation, but it had the energy of much more than a regular season game. Is there any self-talk? Is there any dialogue internally that you're having just to keep yourself centered, keep yourself grounded in a situation like that? As a non-pro official, I would imagine that would be really hard for me. Maybe with your training, it's just like getting up and making eggs, but um, what was that? What was that like for you?
I think it was just conversation coming from Monty and with David is, just be yourself. But at the same time, I was thinking of the fundamentals. Stay in my primary, call the obvious, don't guess, trust your partner, and just keep talking and keep talking. And then you self-talk the fundamentals of, all right, am I too close? My positioning, trying to make sure that I'm in the right space, get to where I can see, get to where I can see. But just self-talk the fundamentals that we were taught, for night in, night out. If you're doing Kobe or if you're doing, the worst team in the league, it's the same talk. But the energy in the building was incredible. I mean, you got all the fans telling Kobe to shoot it, and like, you don't have to tell Kobe to shoot, like, but that was the energy, like, shoot it. We want you to shoot more, but you don't have to tell Kobe.
That's amazing. I want to pivot a little bit, talk about the transition from player to referee more specifically. As a point guard, did you feel like there were skills, there were abilities that you had developed in your playing career that helped you kind of transfer into the craft of officiating? What made the transition even easier for you?
I don't think so much as being a point guard, but it did help because as a point guard, you got to know all the situations, for your team and what's going on in the game. So um, I struggle with trying to pay attention to the clock and watch the game. I won't say like as a point guard, just as a player.
Yeah.
Just as a player, it helped me because there's a rhythm to the game, and I try to, as a player, you want to be in the rhythm. You want to make the calls and make the plays or see the plays just like the game is being flowed because you don't want to interrupt the game. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But just to be in the rhythm of the game and so that I fit, so that I don't stand out. Some of that's a double-edged sword because I don't want to fit in like a player because I'm a ref. But just to have that rhythm, that helped a lot of knowing what the game was, how the game is supposed to be played, what the teams are calling, knowing what they're looking for. That kind of helped me get to the NBA as a ref.
Now that you've been looking at the game from this lens, if you were to go back to your time as a player, is there anything you would do differently having studied the game now as an official for the last 15, 20 years?
I probably would have asked for the rule book. um, most guys don't even know that they're doing stuff. It's just what you grew up doing. You never knew you slid your foot 3 feet, Paul Pierce, to get to your right hand because you're only going to go right. So he would change his foot or move that left foot so he could create some space. But you never knew that because you just played and nobody looked for it. Technology today and everything that's going on. As a player back then, I wish I would have, been in a rule book to know what I could really do and what I could use to my advantage.
James, it's a lot like the things we've been talking about recently, in terms of just the rule awareness of not just players, but even coaches in some cases too.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that. What teams could benefit from learning more about the rules, the mechanics, just because most of them, as you say, they don't know. And so because they don't know how necessarily how to use the rules to their advantage, competitive advantage. I remember back in the day when the old clear path rule, a lot of times the guy would just go up for a layup and just get fouled from behind. And we would say all the time, like, if he just got fouled, just stop, they got fouled. Not only would they get 2 shots, but they get the ball too. But they didn't know that about the rule. And so they never knew how to just take advantage of a competitive advantage of the rules as they're written. So it's definitely something we think players, coaches, if they just learned a little bit, unless you're not going to learn all the rules, but just a couple of them could definitely be very impactful for your team.
Well, I would kind of continue with that, James. I feel like as a kid, as you develop, it should be a part of your development. Pros are, they know a little bit. They're a little bit better than regular with college and high school or AAU. They're a little better. It should be in the development of players.
So, Haywoode, we had a question from Morris in our audience. He asked, Mr. Haywoode, did you ever have to go through the grassroots camp?
No, it didn't go through the grassroots, but I helped. I was a counselor at a couple of those, so I understood what they were going through. My grassroots was Jim
Yeah,
Bertolero walking behind me at the Drew and at the Venice Beach. That was my grassroots.
Yeah, just to piggyback on Haywoode Morris, they didn't have grassroots wasn't quite a thing like when James and I and when Haywoode were coming through. That whole program, the grassroots program, wasn't in play yet. That's something they developed a little bit after we got hired. So you kind of had to be in the right place at the right time, and someone seeing you at a camp or seeing you referee a game in order to be found, quote unquote, and then from there they would watch you a little bit here at this camp or that camp, and eventually you hope to get invited to NBA Summer League. And then you had to perform well at NBA Summer League to get hired into the Development League, and then you'd referee in the Development League or the CBA right before that, and then eventually maybe even the WNBA, and then finally the NBA. So that was the process until they started the grassroots program, probably about 10 years ago, I think.
Well, we got the history of the grassroots program brought to us by Kane Fitzgerald. Thank you for that, Kane. That is helpful context. I didn't know that at all. Dion, in our audience, he asked, how did your athleticism as a player factor into your fitness as an official? What was that transition like in terms of keeping your body up as a referee versus a player? Or was it pretty much the same regimen for you?
It was pretty much the same regimen. I had to do less road work because I had an injury, my knee injury, going through the training and getting hired with that injury. So more so would be the bicycle or the walking or Stairmaster or anything that I could do with less pounding. And I would try to save my legs for the game. So the regimen of staying in shape and fitness, it was the same.
And we got another question here from Morris. I want to throw it to you, but maybe make a slight alteration with it. He asks, who is your favorite crew to work with on any given game night? Is there one or two that come to mind that just you've really enjoyed working with over the years when you are assigned to a game with them? You just really look forward to taking the floor with them?
Like you said, I enjoy working with everyone. I mean, you have relationships better with some guys more or better than others. So those made it a little special, especially my cigar smokers. so, so that made it for after the game to, break the tape down and have a smoke, So that was pretty good. But to work with everybody, man, it's joy. But I had fun with some guys that I had better relationships with, and after the game, we would just chop it up a little bit and help learn, a little bit better about the game.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't thought about how much just enjoying some of the extracurricular things can have in terms of making an impact there.
For me, it's about just, again, all the time on the road. Do you have anything in common? Like Haywoode just mentioned, if you like cigars, do you like golf? Some people like to go watch movies, so that's their downtime. Whatever your thing is, you got 75 people on staff. If you have an association, you might have 200 people in your association. You're not going to get along with all 200 of them, but there might be 5 or 7 folks that you really gel with, and those become your really close friends. And that's just the way it works out. And I think in every aspect of life, It's just there's some synergy there amongst that group, and you enjoy being together. So that's really it.
That's cool. I've got a follow up on this. Kane, I was interested to ask Haywoode about how he looks, how he assesses or evaluates a referee that he's seen for the first time. Of course, we spent a lot of time in the sports world doing this with players, with prospects. Outside of the NBA referees, right? When you're looking at college or high school or pro-am, you're looking at a referee. What are the things that stand out to you? What are the things you see first that indicate that this person, this referee, is a really talented referee?
Yeah, to me it's command, composure, poise. When you're looking at them, they're under control. They have a quiet confidence about what they're doing, and they may not be getting every play right, and they may not be in the right position all the time, but they're not outwardly nervous. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone's going to be nervous when they're refereeing, but there's something to be said about how you control that nervousness and how you channel it.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it as a duck swimming on top of water. The legs underneath the water are going really fast, but on the surface, they look smooth and under control. So if you can master that ability, even and channel your nervousness into a composed and poised look, I think that's going to set you apart right away. That gets you past the first cut, and then they'll take a second look and see how good of a referee you are. But that first glance, it's definitely your look, your the it factor. Like, are they in good shape? And then they have command. They look like they belong on the floor, and that goes back to what Haywoode was talking about. Feel. Like, I think there's two type of referees. One is a feel referee, and one is an analytical referee. Like Scott Foster is probably one of the best analytical referees I've ever worked with. He just is able to think the game through, step ahead on plays, and constantly thinking of all the options that are available to him and what could happen, right? Where I think I'm myself more aligned with Haywoode, where when I refereed, I was in rhythm with the game. So with the rhythm of the game, and feel what everything's supposed to look like. And when Haywoode said like, I don't want to interrupt the game, when you're officiating in rhythm with the game will interrupt itself. Something will happen, a foul will occur that's obvious, and everyone will stop. When you don't react to that play, you now have fallen out of rhythm with the game. You're not interrupting the game. You're still within rhythm because everyone knows that's a foul and that's obvious. And you're in position, you see it, and you call it, and everyone expects it. And that's within rhythm of the game. So I was definitely more in line with Haywoode as an official versus a less analytical referee. But both can be very, very successful.
James, what are your thoughts on this?
It's kind of like the eye test, I think, initially. I think that's just the way it works for everything in life. If you play golf with someone, if you've never played, and you go out there and you're like, man, look at, they got the outfit, they got the clubs, everything's like, it's like, wow. And then they take that first swing and it's like, okay, so they got the $1 million outfit and the $2 game. So it's kind of similar in refereeing, I would assume. It's like, okay, but you get people's attention initially based off of, does it look like you fit out there? And if it does, then they're going to give you a little longer look maybe than someone who doesn't look like they fit or belong, because you got 10 athletes in a basketball game. You want to look like you're an extension of that. You're another athlete on the floor. And then after that, like King said, it becomes, can you work?
I do want to come back and highlight some of our comments from our audience. Marty, you mentioned calmness and poise, the smoothness of the signals. I think that's really a point there as well. Corey, your question, which one is James? Which one is Kane? Kane is the one with the awesome background. James is the one with the biceps. Okay. So that's how I distinguish between the two of them. Yeah.
What? Come on now.
Oh, that's okay.
No, not quite there.
No, just say Gucci, and you know.
Corey was has corrected me here. That was not his question. His question is he said
Marty,
his question
Marty.
is
Wait, I appreciate Marty's comment. I used to. That's right. I used to be much bigger.
So Corey asked though, Kane, which one is James more analytical or feel?
Probably more feel.
Yeah.
I'm more feel like knowing when the game needs something and when it doesn't. When it doesn't require us to get involved at all, we can just stay out of the way and let them play. And then when we need to interject ourselves because things are getting a little bit too crazy, then we will do that. So I referee that way. Foster does have a lot in his head. I don't even think I can function with all of the stuff he has in his head on the floor. I 3 or 4 points of things I need to know while I'm on the floor is good enough for me. From there, it's a matter of, Phil, does the game need you to interject or does it not? You're always trying to get a flow. You're always trying to let the players play aggressively. Aggressive is always good. Rough is never good. So we want to encourage aggressive play. That's what the NBA is. That's what the SEC is. That's what, the Big 12 is, whatever. There's a fine line between aggressive and rough. And when you start to feel it become rough, that's when you start to interject yourself to bring it back to where you want it and you run the game.
Just to add a few more other than Scott that I feel like are pretty analytical referees, like Josh Tiven comes to mind. He's pretty analytical. Ben Taylor, pretty analytical guy, good young referee, knocking on the door of the conference finals referee. But I would say if you had to pick James and Haywoode, if you had to pick a majority of the staff are field refs or analytical refs, what would you say?
I'd say field.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Haywoode, if you could turn your volume up because I'm not sure everybody can hear you. I'm with you, though. Phil.
Yeah. Other than actually refereeing the game, just, visual reps of watching basketball. That's another way you can add to having better feel is just increasing the amount of reps the amount of times you see that play. And it doesn't have to be for refereeing. It could be just watching the game. And you'll get the more hoops you watch, the better feel you'll get for what is acceptable, what's a blocking foul, what's a charge, and all the little things in between. So,
neat conversation, gentlemen. I want to pivot and look a little bit at some film. So, that's what we like to do at RefMasters. We like to look at film, and James has put something together for us to talk shop around. Let's do this. I'm going to step away. I've got this screen behind me, but James, I'll pass it over to you.
I took the liberty since you played for the Pacers. I found 2 plays when you had Pacer games. Right, this is COVID. I want you to talk first. I'm going to let you break this down. I want you to talk first about the play from a referee standpoint, and then like from a player standpoint. So, Sony, there'll be a replay, and I think Sony can play it one more time. And then if you can talk about it, Haywoode, from what you're looking for, like referee-wise, and then if you can kind of break it down, like from a player standpoint, what happens here wrong? Does Doug give up the ball too quick? What does Sabonis need to do differently? Whatever.
I don't think Sabonis could do anything different, but the referee is trying to pick up the defender, and then you want to make sure if you're wide enough so that you can get a big picture viewpoint, of that defender to determine if that defender beats him to the spot or not. And also you're having to recognize if he's in or out of the restricted area. So you want to be wide enough as the lead referee on the baseline. The lead referee needs to be wide enough so that he can see as much of that as possible. So that when this collision happens, you can determine if the defender beat the offensive guy to the spot. Now, as a player, looks like Sabonis is a little out of control. The player gave him the ball a little late. And so he didn't have enough time to stop or change direction. And that caused him to run into the defender, which is an offensive foul.
So you hear all these crazy conspiracy theories as it relates to the NBA because calls many calls, not all of them. 60% is black and white.
Right.
The other 40% is gray. And so, you have a lot of people out there that think, well, okay, so Haywoode played for the Pacers. How can he be objective on the floor as a referee when he has the Pacers? So can you speak to that at all for all these people who have crazy conspiracy theories?
All right. So the reason I can be objective to the Pacers is first thing, they cut me. And then on these two particular teams, I used to play for Washington also, so that has to play into it.
Oh, that's great.
I was told, I don't know where I got it from, but the NBA officials get paid to call the gray. Anybody can call the black and white. And that's kind of why referees wear gray shirts, is because you get paid to make a decision about the gray. Yeah, is the defender moving? He was until he beat him to the spot. He got there before the offensive guy. So that's not being objective or against the Pacers. It's just that's the call. And that's the call that needs to be made for the game. Because in the manual, the game comes first. So you put the game first, and then your partners, because that's your team, because there's 3 teams out there. And we, as referees, we all will try to be on the same page and be a good team also to both of those teams. So it's not about, if it's the Pacers or whoever, because I had that many a nights. I'll give you this story. So I think Juwan Howard, Indiana's playing Miami in Indiana, and Juwan Howard comes up to me and go, how you reffing this game? You used to play for them. And I go, well, do you take it easy on Washington when they gave you that $100 million when you go back to play against Washington? Do you coach any less harder against them? He's like, all right, I ain't messing with you. So
That's good. It's perfect.
Right. So,
So good.
I wanted to be a referee for the game. I thought I had value because everybody's a coach. Nobody was a ref. I thought I had value to the game to try to be a referee and maybe try to get more players to become referees.
You were always a fierce competitor, and it's like that translates to refereeing because now you're competing with yourself to try and get every play right possible. So it just like anytime people say, "Oh, you're just for this team or for that team, why'd you make that call? Why'd you make that call?" It's just if you've ever refereed basketball before, you know that it's ridiculous because we're all out there competing with ourselves, trying to be the best that we can be because we love the game of basketball first and foremost, and then we want to perform at a high level and we want to get the plays right. That's how we get evaluated. So
that's how you move up.
So here's another play, Haywoode. Here's a clip. It's going to go down and I believe come back. And then there's a second clip to this as well. So we're going to have Sony play both of them. So you got this foul here. Your partner here is T-Dub on this game. So T-Dub has your back. So T-Dub has just hit Sabonis. We got a session coming up about communicating with coaches. Maybe you can talk about what you and Nate were discussing there. And then we can talk about, again, from like a player perspective, do we think that, like, as a player, we'd be like, man, that's nothing. Referee, it's a little different, right? So that was the initial play. He's upset. He thinks he gets pushed by Lopez. No whistle. So you see him there with the left hand after you make this call on the other end. We're going to watch his left hand. Sabonis there. Yep, this would be good. And that's what earns him the T after, right there. And you don't see that, but your partner does. And he has your back. So can you talk about, like, from a player's perspective, it's an emotional game, what have you. But a lot of players are like, oh, man, that was soft. Come on, you swallow the whistle on that. But from a referee perspective, we see that quite differently, right?
Yeah. Well, I say from the players, all the players always gets fouled. So that's every time down the court. I got pushed. I got fouled. But as referees, it's about angles. It's all about angles, and sometimes you're not in the best position to see, if he got fouled or he got displaced or anything like that. But like I said earlier, there's 3 teams out there on the floor, so we have to be a team, and we have to also, work together. And sometimes make a call, and you can't see what happens when the player waves you off in disagreement to the foul or not foul, and your partner sees it and he, gets your back. And then, you know, that warranted a technical that I didn't see, but my partner did. So now he could be, he could have gotten fouled, but no one saw it, so they didn't call it at that point. But I'm pretty sure if that's I think that's the third quarter, we go watch that play after the game to determine, hey, did we miss this or not? So that next time that I go or I see Indiana or I see Sabonis, next time I see him, I can go back and tell him, hey, you were right because I looked at that play. You did get pushed, but that's, you have to be honest with yourself. And that's a part of that competition that Kane's talking about with trying to be the best you can be. Sometimes we miss them. It's not just
So you just talk about watching film. We try to preach that a lot at RefMasters, how that's so important to getting better, right? As a player, you always had film sessions. You're constantly working on your game as a team, as an individual. Can you speak a little bit about that? Can you expound on that as like a referee, especially at the pro level, just how much film is required to really get good at your craft?
That's the main thing about tape, because the big eye in the sky doesn't lie. So if you watch tape enough, you'll know where your mistakes are. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll see your mistakes. And watching that tape, like you said, is visual repetition, seeing this play over and over and over. So when you see it, you know that it's a foul. So the tape helps because you may not have seen that foul because you were in the wrong position or you weren't in a good position to see the play. So that's a part of the training. That's a part of getting better. And that's a part of being held accountable, for your play call.
We got a cool question from Marty, just following up on what we were just talking about there, Haywood. He asks, are most of the players okay with it when you admit the mistake later on, or do they still push back?
You get a little pushback, but they're okay with it because you're honest. If you're honest with them, they'll accept it. But if you BS them, they're not going to accept your calls. But then Haywood personally is, hey man, you coming to complain to me about plays and calls. Well, the player that you're guarding, he said the same thing about you. So because you came to me first, I'm going to be watching you now because nobody was complaining until you came over here, so that's kind of my attitude being a player because they're all smart asses out there. And so would be kind of give them back their own stuff, but try to say it in a way that, hey, nobody's out here doing that but you. And if you are doing it, he said that about you. So I'm going to watch you now. And, it may work, it may not. Some players may not work, but, it helps. Sometimes it'll maybe calm a player down who's a little frustrated, So that's a part of that feel of the game. There's a time where I can say something like that, and then, 2-point game, I may not say that. That's not the time.
Yeah. You really hit it on the nail on the head there, though, Haywood, with the honesty. I mean, to me, that's what worked the best. The best communication was when I missed a play and I went back, and I would never really admit to anything until I saw it, because half the time they tell you you missed it, you were right. Or I shouldn't say half the time, 90% of the time, you were right on the play. But that 10% of the time when you go back and you did see that, like, yeah, you got pushed or yeah, you got hit on the elbow, I will definitely make a point to come back and say, hey, you were right. Now, if they take that and they turn that information around and shove it right back to you, then I may not come back to that same player for a while until maybe they circle back and try and make amends a little bit. You don't want to let them abuse that, because that's a vulnerability there that you're sharing with them that, yeah, I made a mistake. You're not saying something to them every time they miss a layup or turn the ball over. You kind of keep a little mental checklist of how they treat you when you share that information. And you proceed accordingly the next time.
So, Sony, James and Kane may not be able to, but because I was a former player, I mean, I would say certain stuff. There are certain things that the players say, like the ball doesn't lie. And I would say, yeah, I saw your last jump shot, you know. You're going to complain about my call, I'm complaining about your shooting, you know. So
That is epic.
I could get away with that, you know. But then there was a time where, like Kane's saying, they're going to abuse it. So I'm in San Antonio and I miss a foul. I forget Ginobili's left hand, and he gets hit on the elbow, and I'm too far behind him on his right shoulder. Can't see it. But Popovich is standing 3 feet, 5 feet in front of me, and he's got the best view, and he's on my butt. He's on my butt. And so going to halftime, I look at it, come out and tell Ginobili, hey, I missed it. You're right. I was too far behind. I needed to move. So in the timeout, there's a timeout. Game has been played. There's a timeout. Now, someone just said, go say something to Pop, because you didn't have time to say it at halftime. So I out of the huddle, Pop turns. I go, Pop, Pop. He says, what? And I go, if I ever got to play right, would you tell me? He goes, hell no, I wouldn't tell you that. No. So, but that's a part of the game. It's a part of, you know, and that's the feel. But now you really know how he feels. I mean, he was joking, but you know how he feels. He's going to take advantage of it. He's going to he's going to root for his team. He's all for his team and try to get any advantage he can get. So, you know, and you can't take too much of it personal, because you're supposed to do your job. You know? But I tried to make it fun for me.
That's awesome. I love this. We just got a question from one of our community members. His name is Corey. He says one of his first childhood memories is watching hoops is Haywoode calling an offensive foul on Carmelo's last second shot. Do you remember nailing that play?
No. No.
Corey's in his 20s.
So many plays. It's
a lot of years of hoops there.
Yeah, and he and I had a couple run-ins, so it probably was right anyway.
I'm going to ask one more question for Haywoode. So there's a shortage of officials in all sports. If you're talking to a young high school young man or woman, someone finishing up their college career who's not going to make the pros, what would you say to them that would that you think might be encourage them to give officiating a chance? Why should they ever consider picking up a whistle or being out on the field or on the pitch or on the diamond?
First thing that comes to mind, give officiating a chance, because it's the game that you love. You love the game that much that you could have a contribution to that game because you love that game so much. Most of the referees, they love basketball. Referees love basketball, and that's why I love basketball. That's why I became a ref, because I felt like I had something to give back to the game. But in your training, be open to go ref a men's league. Go ref a men's league where you don't have Adam Silver to give out fines, and see how you can handle that situation. And most of the times, if you can handle that, you can move up in the rankings. But the first thing is the game that you love. So why not? Why not be out there? I got to run up and down the court with the best players in the world, and that's cool, because I have a lot of pictures of LeBron. I got a picture of LeBron on Christmas Day. Dwayne Wade throws it off the backboard, and LeBron's head is at the rim, and you can see my little peanut head in number 66 in the picture. So, that's great. Great feeling.
I remember vividly. It was me, you, and Josh. We did the D-League All-Star game in 2010. Remember that? Yeah. And I remember we got our rings, and Hay was like, "I'm wearing this ring. I never made the All-Star team as a player. I made it as a rep," and he repped that ring all the time. I loved it.
I love that. Hey, you should. Hey, man, share your flowers with everybody, man. That's right. A special moment. I mean, you shouldn't downgrade yourself because of people don't accept it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was a great experience. It was something. The one thing I remember was when Terrence plays for or Orlando. Ross.
Ross.
Oh, Team Ross.
Ross. And he was getting ready to do the dunk. And remember they had to take the nets down because he wanted to dunk it, catch it, and dunk it
Yes.
again. Right? And then he puts on 2 Chainz' chains. And they were like, hell no, don't you put on them damn chains. that was in Houston.
Yeah.
2013 in Houston.
That's Houston. Yep.
That was a good one.
I wear that ring every now and again. I'll pull it
Nice
out.
one, man. Pull it out.
Yeah.
Pull it out, James. You do
Gotta
it for a
represent.
finals ring.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Hey,
Exactly.
I mean, it's another way to be involved in the game that you love, to the point of what you said, and I just think it's a very underserved avocation that people don't know enough about. They don't know how to get started. They don't know where to get started. But they're, as former players, you guys and ladies are a really good pool of talent because you already know the game, right? And you just, and you already obviously love it. So why not give it a shot? You might be really surprised at, number one, how much you enjoy it. Number two, how good you are. And it gives you the opportunity to be involved with the game that you love for a lot longer than you may have anticipated. So appreciate that, Haywoode.
It's a long-lasting career, and you get to determine when you want to stop, And being that I was a player, the one thing that I really did enjoy about being a referee is I said this way: there were no referee groupies, because no one ever saw me. No one ever saw me come into the building, and no one ever saw me leave the building. So no one was waiting for me. There was nobody looking for me. In some players, you can't even walk the street because everybody recognizes them, but nobody's looking for Haywoode Workman as a ref. So I get to walk and be, who I am without people knowing unless I want them to know. So that was
Either that or unless you're Gucci.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's right. You're getting stopped now on the street, aren't you?
Yeah, Gucci. Yeah. Hey, man, who's that referee? Is Gucci Man a ref now?
Oh, I love it.
Physically.
I text James one day. Hey, look at this picture. They said you're roughing the game. And then James goes and introduces himself. How you doing?
Like you said, you gotta have fun out there, man. You gotta have some fun.
We're creating a monster, Kane.
Yeah,
I know it. Trust me. It's been going on for quite some time.
Storm.
That's another thing. Referees, you gotta have some personality.
Listen, I don't know how you're gonna top riding around the 4-wheeler this season, but I'm looking for something better this upcoming year.
I've got some stuff in the works. We'll see.
Stay tuned. I'll help pay your fine.
Unsanctioned activities here. I love the conversation, and this has been so much fun, Haywoode. We really appreciate it. We've gleaned a lot, and we've had a great time. For all of you that have joined us for this live podcast recording, we thank you so much. There at the end there, Marty, with their good word of encouragement, and Dion, we appreciate that always. Great questions from the whole community. Carlos there, thank you so much. I also just shared a link for our Eventbrite page. We've got some awesome events coming up the rest of this month. We've got a session at the end of this month, Communication with Coaches, featuring some really impressive college head coaches. We have Vanessa Blair-Lewis, we've got Mika Shrewsbury, we've got Chucky Atkins, all really accomplished at what they do. And they're going to be doing a special session, really helping us as officials understand some of the tips and techniques to better relate, better to have those conversations with coaches on the court. And then we've got an event early in October 2nd. We're gearing up for the season with Smitty Apparel. JB DeRosa, he's also an NBA official, and he's a product leader at Smitty Apparel. He's going to be doing a free session. So do check those out. And we hope to see you in the app. James Kane, any final words for our audience?
No, guys, I always appreciate everyone joining. I had a great time talking to Haywoode to get that player perspective and reminisce about working together and hanging out with the guys. Has been a great time. So thanks for joining us. To you, James.
Yeah, just thanks for joining. Really appreciate it because we know time is the most valuable asset that we all have. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the support of RefMasters. We're trying to build a platform that is really, really top notch. So to Sony's point, if you can fill that survey out, give us the feedback. That's how we get better. I really just appreciate you guys taking the time out with us and taking this journey with us as we build RefMasters into a premier platform for sports officials. So thank you.
And last thing real quick, if you saw on our Substack that we sent out this morning, we started a new partnership with Run and Ref. It's a company dedicated specifically to referee fitness. We encourage you to join the Run and Ref crew in the RefMasters app. So if you go in the RefMasters app in the bottom, there's a little person icon. Click on that, scroll down, look for the crew that says Run and Ref, and join us there. It's free content. We're going to be posting a lot of plays with the founder and CEO of Run and Ref, a lot of video content, and having some Q&As, really just trying to up our physical fitness and our training regimen. So we hope you'll join us there. Again, on behalf of James, Kane, Jason, Alvi, the entire RefMasters team, again, thank you to Haywoode, and thank you to all of you. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Good night.